The following is a TPC Network podcast.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode number 2 of the Lukewarm Seat podcast. I'm your host, who was just cut off by my co-host. I'm Josh Ruckstall, and this week is awesome. We're going to dive right in as soon as we get to introduce the co-host. I knew you were there. I was building up, building the suspense. We got my co-host.
Oh, the rock star Chris Cole. I get it. It's a bit cheesy to build up the suspense, but I liked it.
The suspense is definitely, you build it, and then people are like, oh, is he going solo? No, I don't drink beer. I'm drinking a Pink Whitney here.
I just assumed you were drinking water.
No, it's pink.
Oh, it is
Pink Whitney.
Yeah. Looks like its name is Whitney. I'm actually not drinking beer. I'm drinking an Angry Orchard hard cider. Not a sponsor. Crisp apple.
Very nice.
It's delicious.
Let's get right to it. This week is a huge week. We came out swinging in episode number 1. Episode number 2, we're bringing you the Stanfields. That's right. I said it. The Stanfields, and they've got huge news. Huge news. Huge. It's going to be huge.
I won't do my impression now. Now I can't.
So, big news. They dropped a bomb for us. We didn't even know they were going to drop a bomb.
We got the scoop before.
We got the scoop. We are real news dropping a real scoop.
Yeah,
I'm stoked.
John and Dylan come and hang out with us and chat with us. The guys from the Stanfields chat with us. They tell us all about. They teach us something about ironing boards. We talk about Pick Up the Phone, their new support mental health association song.
We talk about Stay the Blazes Home, how they wrote a song after their premiere, said Stay the Blazes Home, and all proceeds went to the Nova Scotia Food Bank. I just really wanted to say Stay the Blazes Home. Stay the Blazes Home.
Yeah,
all right, there we go. I'm done.
Feed Nova Scotia. Man, when we talk about the dirtiest drunk.
We do. Well, we talk about how songs can start out to mean one thing and then turn into something completely different because everybody has their own interpretation. But you'll listen to all that later. First up, we gotta talk about life.
I'm very excited tonight.
I am jacked up. All right. So
gyms are open again. That's what this is. I'm jacked
up. Do you go to a gym?
You go next. The pizza place is always next to the gym.
No, we have nothing near our gym. Our gym is like in the middle of nothing. Like there's like a hair salon. No, we have a microbrewery near the gym. So, I could go.
You go. Yeah.
My wife is like, I can't wait to go. Like, I'm not pregnant. I can go to the gym. Like, I'm glad that you want to go to the gym.
I'll drop you off, but you have to drive us home.
That's no, I'd just be like, you go to the gym. You enjoy the gym.
Yeah.
So, as we said last week, my wife's pregnant, so I am not a father yet. I am going through the motions of fatherhood. And last week, we discussed an awesomely weird job that I found out exists for babies. And it's people decide how big your baby is compared to an object while it's in, my wife's belly. It's grown. It's getting bigger.
That's what they do.
It's evolving. My cat is going crazy. Okay, so
is your kid as big as your cat yet?
No. Well, actually, it could be the size. It's bigger than a small kitten. So, vegetable. It is as big as a head of romaine lettuce.
Delicious baby salad.
And then this is something I don't know what it is. My wife said it's like a puff pastry, but it's a croquembouche.
Ooh.
I don't know. I don't know what that is.
Delicious.
It's the size of a Macho Man Randy Savage. Oh yeah, foam finger.
Come on, the Macho Man foam finger. Yeah, the baby's as big, but not as big as me. No way. Okay, I'm okay.
And it's as big as a small clawed otter. So those are the four. Those are the four things that our baby is as big as now. Chris, how big are your kids?
I mean, my oldest is a little bit smaller than a ride-on lawnmower. My middle child.
A ride-on lawnmower?
A small one. My My youngest is about the size of 7 skateboards, and
Standing on top, like wheels on deck, or like
yeah,
upwards.
you put like a skateboard and then a skateboard, and then you put them in like you
Interlocking. Gotcha.
stack them, and yeah, it's a whole thing. It's a whole to do. It was really hard to get the kid to stand still that long. It took a lot of glue and clamps, but we did it.
For the kid or for the skateboards?
Don't worry about it. And
Gotcha.
so my middle child doesn't stand still long enough for me to measure him. So that's the world we're in. I'm assuming
he's as big as a red dog.
That's just mean. He's as big as the Blur. Yeah. Just
the Blur. Could you say he's like the Flash?
More like the Flush.
Gross. All right. So I was thinking this week of okay, like week 1 came out, said all the cool things that like I'm excited about to be a dad. I'm really nervous because when I had a trait when I was a kid, and I'm pretty sure a lot of kids do it, but I did it a lot. I sleptwalk a lot when I was a child, and I'm really worried that if my kid sleepwalks. Okay, preface the story. So we went to Mexico. I was probably 10. My sister was 8. My brother was 6. We're in Mexico.
You kidnapped by a cartel because you sleptwalk into their lair?
So from a young age, I was a boxer sleeper. Only in the boxers. Hotel rooms, as soon as you close the door, they lock. I woke up in Mexico at the age of 10, roughly around 2 a.m. on the mini putt course of our resort. In my underwear. And I went back to the hotel room, and nobody heard me knocking because they were so sound asleep. And I slept out in the hallway of and it was like one of those like open face to the outside. So like there's no like indoor part of the hotel. You don't have to go to the lobby. Like everyone had their own door from it's like a giant resort. So I was out with like lizards on the wall, just like sitting on the floor, crying myself to sleep because nobody's letting me in this hotel room, and I'm in a foreign country. So fast forward now, I'm 21, 20. I'm in New York City. So I think it's a place of where I travel, I sleepwalk. Places I'm not comfortable. 20 years old, I sleepwalk in New York City. It was a school guided trip that I was chaperoning. And so I'm sleepwalking past the security guard. It's a school trip. So I sleepwalk past the security guard. Security guard is like, hey, man, I guess, because he told me this after, and I came up and I came to in the bathroom of the lobby. I was wearing clothes at this time, though, so thank God. Came to in the lobby bathroom. I told the security guard, apparently, that there was a party in my room, and I needed to use the lobby bathroom at the age of 20. So I sleptwalk and slept talk. I'm really worried that my child's going to sleepwalk or sleep talk.
I can say that only 1/3 of my children sleepwalk and talk. So that's what I got. 1/3.
Oh, okay. So there's a chance.
There's always a possibility. Yeah. So a little bit about the dad life, right?
Yep.
Doing our little stuff. What we do this week. So I went back to my normal job. This week, as did my wife. We both went back to our normal job. We have our oldest child is old enough that he can stay home with the other ones. And this is the first time that we've ever done this. So he has CPR. He has the babysitter course. Like he's done all of that stuff. And we were just expecting that the house would, one of the, 5 days we were at work, we would come home and the house would be collapsed. Everything would be on the ground with the exception of my stairs. Like
that you built.
That I built.
And you reinforced with the cinder blocks you got on Monday.
Yeah, that's right.
Gotcha.
So we were so pleasantly surprised. Not only did they do almost all of the schoolwork, because they still have another week yet of school where they're doing homeschool work. Not only did they do most of the schoolwork, and I used to actually Zoom, and I would dial into the Zoom every so often just to check on them and see how they're doing. And I would do that.
Is it like one of those dog things that shoot out treats? So Karens can be at work and shoot their dog a treat while they're missing their dog?
No, they get rewards after.
Gotcha.
But it went so well. I can only assume they're plotting. And I mean, after this weekend, I'm certain now that they plot during the week, and then on the weekend they execute their plots. So we were very impressed. We've got another 2 weeks where we work, where they'll be at home, and we'll see how that goes. But yeah, it's gonna be. We'll see how it goes the week where they don't have school anymore.
Then you're going to be wanting to stay the Blazes home.
Mm-hmm. Wild.
So I got my pool fixed.
You got your pool fixed. Fantastic.
My pool is fixed, and without even touching the water, I just jumped right in. That was a mistake.
Super cold?
It was so cold. Like, it was under 19 degrees. Oh. And there was shrinkage that still hasn't unshrunk.
Your Audi became an innie.
Yeah, for sure.
I am looking forward to swimming in your pool in July.
We've already got plans.
We've got plans. We're going to get a campsite. And
I'm actually thinking that would be a great first video vlog of the two of us for our YouTube show.
That's
our YouTube channel.
Is us with no shirts on.
No shirts on, with diapers.
Looking at pizza and rubbing our bellies.
And did you like the name of the group?
I did.
Of the event?
Yeah. I did.
Huggies and Chuggies.
Huggies and Chuggies.
It's great. It's perfect. So what else? Okay. Starting. So as I don't know if I mentioned before, I have mental health issues. So I've been prescribed massage therapy.
Fantastic.
Had my first ever massage that wasn't like a couples like relaxation where they're just like softly touching your skin and you're like, oh, I'm so glad you're here, babe, and she's like, oh, me too, and you just get rubbed by strangers together. This was like a lady who's technically what it is.
I know.
This is a lady who's there who's like concerned about your muscles and is like, they are tense, I am going to work them until you cry. And I was on the verge of tears many times, but the thing that surprised me is she was like, she started like at my shoulders and like just went down my side, like the back, like on my ribs, and then she's like, oh, you're really tense. Can I fix something for you? I'm like, yeah. And I was wearing like my like gym shorts, and she like pulled them down like fully past my cheek and started rubbing my butt. And so like the whole time I'm worried about like other issues arising, like popping up. Now I'm worried about don't fart. And that's the only thing I can think of the entire time, because she's going like north, south, and she goes east, west. And I'm like, oh my, like this is terrible. Like I am so concerned. Didn't fart. It was all
don't
good.
Fart's
but
always my worry when I'm at massage therapy.
Oh, but like, it was my first ever massage, so I'm like, I was worried about like other things happening, and then I was like, okay, don't fart. That's now the main concern. And she finished one side, and I was like, whoa. And then she like immediately like one side of my pants goes up. She pulls the other one down in one motion. No crack was exposed, and did my other butt cheek. And I was like, this is like, she's a magician. Like, I have never felt as much pain, but then the next like couple days later,
it's a couple days, yeah, because the next
couple
day
days later,
sore.
Well, there was one time she touched my shoulder and she's like, oh, if I go this way, you feel nice, right? I'm like, yeah. She's like, yeah, but your muscle's so tense if I go this way, and she pushes it the other way. It felt like a guitar string being plucked right on my shoulder, and I was like, oh. And to top it all off, she's like very Swedish, so I was like so she's like, one point in the massage, she's wanted me to get lower on the table, and she's like, go to your feet, and I'm like, go to my feet? Like, what do you mean? So I like brought my hands, like I like inchwormed myself like to my feet. She's like, no, like move your feet, and I started moving my feet. She's like, no, how do you say in Canada? Oh, scooch. And so then I scooched down the end of the table, and oh, it was crazy, but like amazing. Like, recommend if you have stress and anxiety and you feel it in your neck and your back, massage therapy is the way to go.
100%. I go once a month.
she prescribed me every 2 weeks, so I'm going every 2 weeks, and it's going to be amazing, and I'm excited. My neck has never felt as great as it has now than it has in the last 5 years. It feels amazing.
I go once a month here in I go to MyoCare here in Moncton, not a sponsor, but I love them. I go once a month, and she does cupping as well. Not the one where they suck a bunch of your blood out, because that's weird. It's the one where it's suction cupping the tendons off. And
what's the one where they suction cup and take blood?
It like pulls out. It's supposed it detoxes.
Like detoxifying your like skins, like your blood cells and whatever.
Yeah.
I don't like sounds of that.
Yeah, no, but she does the cupping where it's literally just a therapeutic, like it's to help pull the tendons away. And one of the things, as you know, I have pretty bad knees, and I was getting all upper body stuff done, and then she said, well, you got a lot of tightness in these tendons around your knees. It'd probably solve a lot of your pain issues. And I started going once a month and basically getting like a few things up like in my upper body, and the rest is like it's almost a full hour on just my knees, and it hurts like the dickens. And I mean, I have a fairly high pain tolerance, so she knows if I go that means it hurts. And but she goes, is that okay? I'm like, yeah. And she'll do like the massage, and it's just like the next day it hurts worse than it did before, but the day after that I'm good for the next month. Like my legs feel great. So it was great to get back to massage therapy when we were able to here.
For me, I have tattoos, so I'm a sucker for pain and like that kind of pain. So the massage itself, like it was painful, but it wasn't like a too much pain. Does that make sense? Yep. So for me, it was more like a just almost like a scratching of that itch, that like a tattoo itch. Mm-hmm. So this might save me money in the long run, getting massage therapy. But it was crazy. Like, and it was our first one, so she's like going real tough on me, and she's like, I go tough until you say ow, and then I go back. And I was like, okay, like it makes sense, but like, sure, like cool. And I didn't say ow, and she's like, your muscles are really tight. And I was like, yeah, I'm pretty stressed. So anyway, that was massage this week. Did I do anything else this week? Oh, so we're talking to a band, and I wanted to bring up my only instrument playing days from when I was a child. Oh. So I moved to New Brunswick when I was in grade 10. No, grade 9. So grade 10 was my first year. And I had no friends, but I did own a set of bongos.
Oh, God.
So I would sit in the hallway at lunch hour and play the bongos, untrainedly play the bongos, hoping that I'd make friends.
Did it work?
I made friends after I didn't bring the bongos to school.
So it worked. Nailed it. You gotta figure it eventually.
So that's the only classic instrument training I have, which is no training. I just played the bongos because you could pick them up and you could just tap them. And I did not wear a fedora either. So
that's good.
Yeah.
Or a pork pie hat. Pork pie hats are the bongo hat.
Yeah,
which is a type of fedora. That's something that people get confused. The fedora is many types of hats. A Stetson or a cowboy hat is a type of fedora. You're welcome.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
So, during our interview, I asked. They talked about touring, and I asked, "Who's going to feed your cat?" And I always laugh because the person that comes and feeds my cat is Alex Madsen of the Divorcees. He comes and feeds my cat, or his wife does. They'll come and feed the cat if we're away. And that brings me to some pop culture news right here in the Maritimes. The Divorcees have announced the return of Jason Haywood to the band, which is a huge thing. Jason hasn't been involved in the band for several years. He was one of the founding members. They're used to, as of before this, on their last couple of albums, Alex Madsen's been the sole vocalist. Jason Haywood was the other vocalist on their first and second album. Jason Haywood's back in the band, and the band is planning on as soon as they can, going on a massive tour to promote a record that they're in the process of recording, which is super exciting. They want to really get themselves known across Canada as one of the premier Americana bands in the country, if not the. And they're my favorite, so I love them.
So this is like, I'm not very much into the maritime music scene per se. So the Divorcees were fairly new. I looked them up this week when you told me the news, and that's like, so this band has, how long have they not been together as a whole core group?
Oh, Jason has been in and out of the band, but I would say without Jason, hey, like they also, I mean, they have a new drummer now. They don't have the original drummer anymore. A couple of other people have come and gone, but without Jason, I think, my goodness, it was probably my goodness, 2007.
So that,
band, yeah,
that's a fairly long time, and they're like, I've heard of the name being in the Maritimes and listening to their music. Like, that's huge, and they're they're going to be definitely booked all over Canada, if not in North America for sure. Yeah, so like, I'm super excited about that, and that's great for also our local music scene, because if people could just see the talent that's in our local music scene, like the Motor Leagues, the Witches, the Stanfields, all these great musicians, and the Kendra Gale Band, and all these great artists that are local to the Maritimes.
Goodness, the Rankin family, like so many acts. It's an amazing amount of talent, and that brings me to my next little bit of pop culture news: is that we can. I mean, besides if you know the bands or you know some of the people, a lot of us are live streaming. Like my band live streams on the Flea Market Underground page every Friday from 6:30 to 8 Atlantic time. See what I did there? And but there's a company in Moncton. They're known. They're basically a sound company, a production company called Sound Specialists Industries Incorporated, called SSI. So if you go to SSI Moncton, they've been doing a live stream. They've been doing 2 of them a week, and these are full on. They built a sound stage. These are full production, like multi-camera live shoots of bands. They've had a couple of local cover bands. They just had the Zach Lane trio was on. Who Zach Lane, for those who don't know, he actually was supposed to be on The Voice a few years back, and ended up he couldn't get the work visa for the U.S. to do it. And they're hosting piles and piles. FM Berlin's going to be on their show. FM Berlin, if you have not heard FM Berlin,
they're amazing.
You owe it to yourself to look up FM Berlin. Like they're phenomenal. They are just an amazing group of musicians. Possibly, you never know, maybe guest someday. So, I mean, we look at the broader pop culture on our show, but we also kind of give that love to some of the local stuff. And SSI, I've spoken to them, what they're doing with bands and trying to help keep bands working, helping bands make money. It's a huge thing for them to do. Being able to get sponsors and get bands in and have that all happen, it's just phenomenal.
And other pop culture news, this is a really hard month for a lot of people because of COVID. If you were a senior in high school, you will not be getting a graduation. So a lot of celebrities have been reaching out and giving like mini graduation speeches via Instagram, via Facebook, via TikTok, however it is. They're sending out these videos of essentially a graduation speech on this is the next phase of your life. It's not a conventional one, but make the best of it. Seize your opportunities, and so on and so forth. And that's great to see that these seniors who have worked their tail off, and like, it's crazy how much you take for granted such a thing as a graduation when you see seniors now not getting it, not getting the prom, and when I took it for granted as a senior in high school.
Absolutely. And man, it's become more and more complicated with all the stuff going on in the States. And it's I feel like everybody's kind of picking where they stand on the issues happening there right now. And in Canada, I mean, it's in Canada, we have our own systematic issues. We try not to dwell on that stuff on our show, but I mean, you said it best in our message back and forth. We were talking.
I think if you're okay with it, we should probably make a statement and say that I firmly agree that Black lives need to matter. The fact that we're still in this fight is ridiculous.
Yeah,
and it's showing just the injustice that for so long it's been other things have taken precedence and taken, like, look at women's rights and how far they've advanced. But you look at the rights that the Black Lives Matter and that movement hasn't advanced nearly as far as all these other things that have moved leaps and bounds, and it's still staying stagnant, and we can't stand for it anymore. And the American people are saying that. And we're not saying that all lives need to matter. Black lives need to matter now so that all lives can matter later.
Absolutely.
And I hate using the all lives matter, and people are saying, it's terrible.
Yeah.
But in order for that to be a thing, Black lives need to matter. And they don't, and not that they don't to me, they do. They don't to, as a society, it's a flawed society.
And much like in Canada, I mean, while the African Canadian Black Lives Matter movement still matters here a lot, and we also have our Indigenous Lives Matter movement here because they historically have been segregated the most in Canada. But it comes back, and there have been several great analogies. But you think about it, if my house is burning down and I say, help me, my house is burning down, and the firefighters come, and your house isn't, and you go, what about my house? Doesn't my house matter?
It's the same thing.
Yeah. So that's where we stand.
That's where we stand. We didn't want to
agree.
Yeah, we didn't want it to go unmentioned, but we're a positive podcast. We want to spread the positivity, and that we are fully on board for this movement. And I want to see great change in the world, and I want to raise a daughter that's in a world where everyone is treated equally as such.
I will treat your daughter like an otter, because
that's what she is.
She is right now.
Or the boosh thing.
All right, so I totally skipped an entire section of our run sheet.
Yeah,
Did you notice that?
But the beauty of editing, Chris, the beauty.
I
just want to make more work for you. I want to make more work for you.
I'm not changing the order of it. We just do it in the wrong order. It's fine. No one knows us.
While we're on pop culture, though, I just have four things I want to say. So there's four things that I have that happened this week in pop culture and history, and I'm going to go in chronological order. In 1956, Elvis Presley introduced his new single "Hound Dog" on the Milton Berle show.
Milton Berle.
I'm young. I'm young. I don't know what that is. So that is the oldest.
Person.
1990. The year before I was born, Universal Studios Florida opened up in Orlando, Florida. 1998, Sex and the City premiered in HBO. Chris, I brought that one in. I know it's your favorite show. I just wanted to make sure that your show gets some lovin's.
I stand by my previous statement.
And then in 2004, Ken Jennings began his 74-game winning streak on the syndicated game show Jeopardy! And I'm pretty sure nobody ever came close to that record, ever.
And wasn't he beaten by a robot or something?
No, didn't he? No, there's a guy that beat a robot, and that was in like the All-Star.
Right.
So what did your wife just yell at you?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
So anyway, not my job to listen to my wife.
My wife listens to this podcast. I listen to my wife.
Anywho, that's I love the milestones, and we'll bring you some more of those next week for sure. I'm curious with the Ken Jennings thing, but I'm not going to look it up right now. We have our positive YouTube video. There's a guy who absolutely does not need our help, but his name is Mark Rober, or Robber. I'm assuming it's Rober. And
He worked for NASA.
He's a former NASA scientist, which is super cool. I've seen many of his things. He's been on a lot of the different shows and talk shows and things like that. But he built a squirrel-proof bird feeder.
Say that 3 times fast.
If you look up building the perfect squirrel-proof bird feeder, Mark Rober, MarkRober, onto YouTube, it's so worth watching. And he shows you how squirrels are a lot like cats, which is kind of neat. And yeah.
The thing I thought was interesting is not only did he want to make this obstacle course, he also wanted to make deterrents for the squirrels. So like he'll put like a stuffed female squirrel like on like a platform that has like a 3-second time switch and then let's go. Or like it's just I literally was like, holy Chris, we want to make this the video. It's 15 minutes long. I was like wanting more at the end.
Yeah,
I was wanting more. It's American Ninja Warrior, but with squirrels. It should be a syndicated. It should be a syndicated television show. It was great. Yeah, he's like.
And the two squirrels have names, and one of them is a big opportunist, and you'll see that in the video because it's pretty amazing.
And there's one that's really lazy, and at the end, he builds something for the squirrels. It's great. It's great to see somebody you taking what they did for work and now using it for good and going to YouTube and putting out great content for us to watch.
And if you watch it with the kids, it's great science content. He talks about all the science behind it. It's truly amazing. It's very impressive, and I likes it.
I thought it was amazing how they, in milliseconds, plan where they're going to land whenever they jump.
Yeah, absolutely.
That blew my mind. You have to watch it to understand what we're talking about. It is truly great. Great YouTube video. And while we're talking about things we've watched, Chris, this week, some Netflix or Crave things that you must watch that I've seen is Murder Mystery with Adam Sandler and Jennifer Aniston. Great movie. Watch Blockers for the first time with John Cena. Isn't It Romantic with Rebel Wilson, and Hustler with Rebel Wilson and Anne Hathaway. Great movies I've seen that I've watched on Netflix this week, and I've give the big old thumbs up to.
All right, I have been super busy this week, as I've already said, but I have had a chance to watch one movie, and if you get the chance, it's on a bunch of streaming services and VOD, and you can rent it VOD. But Becky, starring Robert Maillet. Robert Maillet, also known as Kurgan to wrestling fans, is actually a New Brunswicker. And this movie, it's the best thing he's done so far. He's done some great movies. Is it
scary?
And he does a great job. Well,
is it scary?
Not to me.
I don't like scary, though. Like for me, it was scary.
Which one?
Both.
Okay. Like the old one, the 1990 one?
Yeah, like Scream. Scream is about my threshold. The
I
first
would say
Scream.
Becky's around Scream. It's they compared. It's like Home Alone meets Scream from the Grave or whatever it's called.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I can live with that.
It's called Becky. Check it out. Robert Maillet. He is a national treasure here in Canada. If you don't know, he was, of course, in 300. He was in.
What was the one with the 3 guys from Workaholics, and he plays one of the henchmen? Pass. Never mind.
That's fair. He's been in tons of stuff. Look him up online if you don't know. But he was in Sherlock Holmes. He was in 300. He was in a really, really bad movie called Monster Brawl with Kevin Nash. All around great guy. Had him on a previous podcast of mine. He's also done appearances at local wrestling promotions. But yeah, Becky is my choice right now. Like, only thing I've watched this week that's new. Other than that, my wife and I are rewatching the series Bones.
Nice. Yeah. I've been watching this new series called My Brother's Dating and Single, starring my actual brother. So I'm married, so I'm living vicariously through his world of online dating. And it's been awesome. Like, every day I'm like, so what's going on? Did you go on a date last night? Did you give her a rose? Is she a keeper? So, like, my brother, like, he'll call me and be like, Yes, and so we watched Norseman, and I don't know if you've seen Norseman. It's
have
an
not.
amazing show. And so we talk with a really bad Norwegian accent, and I'll call him like, "So, would you go on a date last night?" He'd be like, "Yes, I did go on a date last night." And we're like, "How'd it go?" And he goes, "Very, very good." And so it's just
being
like
in Frozen. That guy in
100%. Yeah. So 100%. So that's the accent he uses when he talks to me. But so now I'm living vicariously through him, and like now my wife isn't on board in this, and she goes like straight to like so was she a good kisser? I'm like, you can't just like skip the beginning. You gotta you can't just go right for the answer.
I do this to my oldest. My oldest is middle school, so he goes to dances this year, and he'll go to a dance.
Does he bring girls mints?
And I imagine, I assume. I mean, that's his move.
His thing.
Right? But he plays guitar now too. He plays guitar now too. He'd be like a song about a mint. I don't know. So anyway, he'll come home and I'm like, "So, how was the dance?" "Fine." Did you dance with any girls?" "No, Dad, I didn't dance with any girls." "Did you dance with any boys?" "No, Dad."
Because that's okay too. Oh, okay, while we're on that topic, actually, we'll save it for another episode.
All right.
We're going to save it for an episode. I'm going to need to know how to have the talk.
Okay, I'll do some research.
Your kid's in middle school and you haven't had the talk yet?
Which, like the talk?
Like the birds and the bees.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I've had that talk.
Yeah, I need.
They know
next week, I want a lesson.
God.
That you're going to teach me.
So if we don't have a guest, because right now we don't have a guest next week.
I'm working on it. There's a couple in the hopper. There's a couple. We can say people that have confirmed they're going to be on at a certain point. No. Actually, we're going to just leave it. Leave it. I like the mystery. I'm like very much like Batman.
I'm Batman.
Okay, so we're going to go to.
Fear me. Sorry.
Okay. Wow. We're going to go to some ads, and we're going to get right into our interview with the Stanfields.
That's a great idea.
We'll be back.
Oh, okay. Never mind.
It's okay.
I'll cut that clap out.
No, it's okay. We'll
All right.
just edit there.
Hey fans, we know you're on Twitter and you're on Facebook. You're on social media getting breaking news the minute it happens. Well, good news, so are we. Innovative Hybrid Wrestling has social media covered. We're on Facebook, we're on Twitter. We post everything you need to know about Innovative Hybrid Wrestling, so make sure you're following us so you're the first to get the inside scoop.
At Spin-It Records and Video, we pride ourselves on having some unique and really cool items and attractions. Come in and check out our classic arcade. Our gift cards available in $5, $10, and $20 denominations. When you're here, go see our movie rental section sporting 35,000 DVDs, over 2,000 Blu-rays, including a large selection of Francophone films, and a huge selection of video games for rent. Make sure you check out our vinyl section. We have more vinyl than you can shake a stick at. For more information, go to spin-itrecords.ca. We're at 467A Main Street in Moncton, open 7 days a week. Video store 10 to 10, record store 10 to 8, Sundays 12 to 5.
I love to read comic books, and man, do I love playing board games. That's why I go to Comic Hunter. Comic Hunter has Atlantic Canada's largest selection of comic books, graphic novels, board games, and manga. Plus, they have toys, action figures, statues, and much, much more. ComicHunter.net has a blog and Magic the Gathering web store. Events every single night, Dungeons & Dragons, Magic the Gathering, board games, Star Wars X-Wing, and much more. Ladies and gentlemen, they have mangas, buy 3, get 1 free, used graphic novels, buy 1, get 1, plus the dollar bin of comics, thousands of comic books, up to 50% off the more you buy. Check out ComicHunter.net. They have a knowledgeable staff, plus Matt Surrett's there too. Open Monday to Friday 10 to 10, Saturday 10 to 9, Sunday 12 to 6. Location is Moncton, 467 Main Street, Suite 300, and in Charlottetown, 181 Queen Street. That's right, Comic Hunter, where heroes come to play.
For all your hauling needs, call Brace & Son Enterprises, TPC Network's newest sponsor. Call them at 506-381-8178. They haul material, and in the winter, they do snow plowing and snow blowing. Call Brace & Son Enterprises.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're here with John Landry from the Stanfields. John, why don't you introduce yourself? Tell us a quick little bit about yourself.
Yeah, my name's John. I'm in
Hi,
the
John.
Stanfields. Hi,
Hi, John.
He screwed it
Hi.
up.
I screwed it up.
No, he.
No, it's all good.
Oh,
I did.
I guess it doesn't. Who knows where I'm
It doesn't
pointing.
really matter.
Take two.
That's fine.
We'll leave
Chalk it
this
up.
in. It just works for the dynamic.
I can make it work. I do all the editing, so I'll just go. Just
It's all good. It's all
I'll
good.
leave it alone.
You want me to complete the question?
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
We're good at this game.
My name's John Landry. I was born in Guysborough, Nova Scotia. I was an asphalt paver for most of my life, and somehow I stumbled into music in my late 20s and been all over hell and creation doing that job, and here I am.
Here you are.
Talking
Awesome.
to you guys.
Glad to have you on.
Lucky all
Glad
of
to
us.
be here.
Yeah, so we having you on. I know Josh was really interested, especially to have you guys on. But a big part of what the Stanfields have done especially in the last couple of years, you guys raise a lot of money for different things, right? Like you guys do make songs. You did Stay the Blazes Home for Feed Nova Scotia. But I wanted to talk to you about Pick Up the Phone. So what prompted you to put together? I'm really trying not to say what prompted you to pick up the phone. What prompted you guys to put together Pick Up the Phone in support of the Mental Health Association?
Well, I'll just kind of unpack that a little bit. Of course, this whole COVID-19 thing happened, and effectively, we were like everybody else in our industry. We were left with very little wind in our sails because of the rightful public health guidelines and stuff that's going on across the country and around the world, and it's that kind of forced us to think about how we can still remain proactive, because we don't get into this we don't get into the music game for money, obviously. We don't get into it for acclaim. It's about expressing ourselves in our art. So when we realized pretty quickly that we couldn't be the typical live road band that we have been since we started touring, I don't want to say how long ago, but it rhymes with 11 years ago. We pivoted pretty quickly and set up shop in our own bedrooms and set up home studios and decided that, well, if we can't tour, then we should create,
Right.
And when we did Stay the Blazes Home, that happened pretty organically. I mean, frighteningly organically. Like I've never really experienced anything like that up to this point. My wife and I were watching Premier McNeil here in Nova Scotia in his daily briefing, and he, of course, he dropped the Stay the Blazes Home bomb, and my wife turned to me and she said, that would be a good old school Stan song. And she started start doing this, Stay the Blazes Home. And I laughed and she laughed, and we didn't think of anything of it. That was Friday. That was a Friday. Saturday, I was hanging around the house and put together a song in 15 minutes. And I went on Facebook and made a video, and people loved it. So it was that quick that we went, wow, we should record this for real and make a video and release the song and raise some money for Feed Nova Scotia, right? So it just kind of organically happened that way. We didn't set out to do anything. We just, like, the universe gave us an opportunity and we took it.
Right.
And the next thing you know, having interviews with the Huffington Post and talking to we're on the National, like it was nuts. Like it just and the songs being spun still around radio stations around the region and raising money and raising, I think, more critically, awareness of the whole thing, but particularly at that time, which is so important. Because it's a very hard thing for people to do. People were caught in a real rock and a hard place. And it's like, well, I have to pay my bills, but I can't expose the more susceptible members of my family to a pandemic.
Yeah, well, that's it.
It's the first time in the last 100 years that you've had to stay home and literally not be able to leave your house. So it's a culture shock for everybody. I just quickly want to applaud you guys on your videos. Your guys' videos, bar none, the greatest music videos I've ever seen with the use of puppets, and it's awesome. I love it.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So we did the State of the Blazes home thing, and this is kind of a narrative, and it's important. But we did that. We were getting great joy out of it. People were making their own fan videos and sending it in, and I like to think we helped reinforce the message. But it wasn't very long afterwards. Within a week or so, we were discussing it within the band and our families and stuff, and realizing pretty quickly that there was going to be a negative consequence of staying the Blazes home and isolating, and of course that was going to be on people's mental health.
Absolutely.
Myself.
Sorry, I just noticed that Dylan has just signed in here.
Oh.
Yeah, got her working here.
Oh boy.
Can't get the video to work for some reason, but I got the audio.
There's a little camera in the bottom left. If you tap on that, you should unmute your video. If anyone wants to look at you, I don't know, maybe.
Yeah, I don't.
It's really just for us. We don't do video, so.
Oh, it's just all audio anyway.
It's going to be all audio, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Which is all good. This is nice and organic for the. It's all good.
Right.
So, yeah. Sorry. Continue your story. I cut you off there.
Well, I'd no, that's okay. So, State of the Blazes home and sort of run its course. It was right in the middle of it. It was kind of at the height of the whole thing, and
Right.
Things cycle through pretty quick in a day and age like this with so much media. And we were having this conversation about the byproduct of following the public health guidelines, and we said, well, what's the next thing? And we realized pretty quickly that it was going to be mental health. And so, rather than turning around a new recording and a video in 3 days, we took our time with this one, and we wrote this song, "Pick Up the Phone," which it's a bit outside of our box for sure, but it's also reflective of a lot of the kinds of music that we listen to when we're in the tour van or when we're getting ready to go on stage, and it's kind of half ironic. But do you ever do something ironically enough that you actually like it in the end? You know what I mean? Do you know what I mean? Like that's how I feel about Michael McDonald.
That's fair.
And the Doobies. Yeah. So we put this song together. Dylan recorded his parts at his place, and J-Mac and Callan did it at theirs, and Murph, our drummer, so on and so forth, and way we went. We released it, did the artwork, and contacted our friends at Mental Health Foundation Nova Scotia, and basically took the whole State of the Blazes home model and did it again.
Ran it again.
Mm-hmm.
So with that, I'm sticking with the music videos. Your music video for that is just pop culture references everywhere. Where'd you come up with that idea to use pop culture to even further hammer that message home?
Well, I think we should have our own Martin Scorsese of the Stanfields talk about that one.
Yeah, well, I mean, initially the idea came from the Golden Girls was kind of where it stemmed from. John mentioned it'd be funny if, we use that kind of, they're dressing up as the Golden Girls or incorporating some kind of, cliche sitcom so that we could kind of pound the vibe of the song. And I was like, well, why not take that step further and find, all the scenes from all of the old ones we used to love and make it look like they're, talking to each other in a sense. And then, the nostalgia of all that was really cool too, because I feel like people who are, struggling mentally with whatever it may be, they kind of look to those shows for a happy place, I find. And felt that kind of hit the message home a little bit too.
Absolutely. Awesome. So I had a question. So for you guys, I mean, right now, are you still just writing? Are you planning on doing something else after now that you? I mean, pick up the phone's still pretty darn new, but are you guys? Do you have any idea what's going to happen in the future?
You're trying to find out the state secrets, aren't you?
Maybe.
Yeah, that's what I see. What's going on here?
We wouldn't be doing our job if we didn't.
You work for Frank Magazine. Just admit it.
Frank.
No, well, you know what? This band does not sit still. It never has, and it never will. Wow. See what I did there?
Yeah, you just wrote a song.
I did. This band doesn't sit still. It never has and never will. We are working on the next project. Actually, we're working on 2 projects right now. One is, we've got our sights set on another single before the summer's over, and we've got our sights set on. I don't know if I should say this, Dylan. What do you think? Should I say this?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. 'Cause we just don't like writing checks that we can't cash, if you know what I mean. But we have a live record in the can.
Oh.
And we're working on the post-production for that, and we have sights on releasing that. I think this is the scoop. I think you guys got the scoop.
I think we got it.
Oh.
And
Yeah.
we got the Stanfields live record.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
Yeah, it's cool, man. So it's like there's a whole there's a roadway. There's a path for us, and it's going to keep us at least occupied throughout all this, because here's the truth of the matter. The truth of the matter is that our industry is preparing for an 18 to 24 month shutdown.
Yeah.
So when you're a live band like the Stanfields, who can't gather and do the online streamed concert thing as readily as you as a solo artist, that presents us with a challenge. We need to work on what we can do, and thankfully we have the knowledge base to be able to record songs together without being in the same room. Right. And Dylan has the chops and a real keen eye for editing a narrative for a video, so we're very lucky in that respect. You make your own luck to some degree, but of course at the end of all this, this is the direction that we're going to be heading for a while.
Yeah.
Now, going that way, how, already having that in production, how is that making this transition easier for you? Has it been a harder transition, or?
I would have to say, I'd like to hear Dylan's thoughts on this too, but I would have to say that it's a new world that we're living in right now. I mean, everybody's living in a new world. Let's not kid ourselves, but particularly for us, we don't have those tours to look forward to. Everything that we've ever done is based around the tour, right? It's the touring that makes us the money. We have an industry that's told us for years, don't expect to make money off of your recorded music, right? You have to make your money on the road. And that is the Bible that we followed. And lo and behold, here we are in a pandemic, and a lot of artists are struggling as a result. And it's really nobody's fault. But, we have to make adjustments. So we don't really have a choice but to be positive about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like another change in an already fast changing industry where, right when you catch on to, one fad in the industry, it's on to the next thing almost, especially with technology. And now that, the road's kind of taken away from us, it leads us to just adapt, really. And I think that's kind of, it's exciting as much as it is daunting.
Well,
do you think we're in for? Oh, sorry, Chris. Do you think we're in for an influx of new music with that change and that arc? Have all these artists staying home? We're going to have an influx of a lot more diverse and different music.
I would think so. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so too. I also think that with that is there's going to be a strong movement of artists taking back the value of their creations.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah,
I don't know what that looks like, you know, but I think the market is going to have to respond. You know, I think that the Spotifys of the world are going to have to respond. You know, I think that what's really interesting is what we're learning right now is that typically when we put out a record, it's a year to 18-month process from production into developing a marketing campaign into the minute that you get it in your hands. And there's the old adage that by the time guys like you hear what we've done, we're long sick of it and we're on to the next thing, you know? But what was really cool, especially with the last 2 songs that we put out, and I don't know how to quite, possibly 3, you know, when we did the CCR cover for the Nova Scotia Vigil for the Portapic victims, which I don't consider a release, so to speak, but in practice, what that allowed us to do as artists was to respond in a real time manner, you know, and to me, I've been considering it a farm to table music ecosystem, which I find that there's a lot of potential there, and being able to take some of that power back from, you know, the companies like Spotify and whatnot, who I'm not anti-Spotify by any means, but there has to be more answers.
The world we live in right now, with the power of the internet per se, if this would have happened 11 years ago when you guys first got together, you know, that's something I always look at is what would you have done as a band? It would have been just the end. You know, for a lot of bands, it would have there wouldn't have been that recording and sending it over the internet, and
right,
you know, not as easily anyway. I mean, obviously the internet existed 11 years ago, but just everything would have been so much harder. You guys included, of course. You guys, there are so many amazing talents, talented artists, talented bands, whether it be cover musicians or original musicians or what have you. So many great talents in the Maritimes. I'm actually curious, each of you, what is your favorite current Maritime act?
Well, let Dylan hit that one. He's the hip guy.
Ooh, that's tough.
There are really a lot of really good, amazing.
Yeah, totally. One band that I was really into for a while was The Brood. They're pretty cool. They played Blacktop a couple of years ago, and that was a really fun concert. They're a weird band, and I like weird. It's kind of like it's like Rush meets Flock of Seagulls.
Yeah. It's crazy stuff. I concur with Dylan. I would. Dylan's actually, for me, probably like Dylan and I are a decade apart in age. So he's actually my son.
We have a very similar dynamic here.
Yes.
Oh, there you go.
A little more than a decade.
So Dylan for me is, you know, is a very important conduit into what's going on in the street. You know, I live with my wife and my cat in a condo, so I'm not as hip as I used to be, and I don't party on a Tuesday and that kind of stuff. But Dylan got me into a couple Nova Scotian acts that I really like. Aquaculture, Good Dear Good. Good Dear Good was supposed to play Blacktop Ball this year, but of course we had to cancel our Blacktop Ball this year. And, you know, but that's actually kind of an interesting point, is that we've been putting on this Blacktop Ball festival for 5 years now, and we're really getting a chance to engage with and showcase, you know, some of our region's up and coming acts. You know, we've had Hillsburn through there, we've had the Hypochondriacs, we've had even old war dogs like Monoxides, you know, this kind of thing. So it's really cool, and it's things like that that make me feel very fortunate to be the band that we are, you know, and have been around as long as we have.
100%.
Now, going to what you said that there needs to be a change, are you noticing there's a slight change where everything used to, 2-3 years ago, everything was very digitalized, and now there's a resurgence of vinyl? Do you guys find that is helping somewhat?
I'll let Dylan cash in on that one. See what his thoughts are.
I think maybe like 5 years ago it looked like that was the case, but I don't know if now that I think it's just kind of. I think vinyl is something that's going to be there all the time. I don't think it's ever going to go away, but I don't think it's ever going to make a resurgence like it did initially. I think digital is by far taking over the streaming market for sure. Like, just music consumption is done, universally that way now, it seems. And the people who are listening to it on vinyl are the people who are sitting in their living room just listening to music.
Yeah.
They're not putting it on while they're partying and stuff like that. At least not in a lot of places, anyways.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would concur with Dylan too. We've done runs of vinyl for almost every record that we have, and one of the challenges around sourcing vinyl is that there's a real disparity between getting the amounts that you can really move, that you could really sell, and often what happens is you're sitting on a few hundred records for a few years, and we're not exactly at a business that's flush with cash, so it becomes very much tougher and tougher. To that end, I've been more so looking at the opportunities that we're positive people, and what we are seeing a lot of in the industry, particularly with the major labels and things like this, is these major labels are buying merchandise companies. Right. And we're also seeing online companies who are optimizing their services for musicians to do what's called drop shipping. I don't know if you're familiar with that concept or not, but for the listeners, so basically it's they produce and fulfill T-shirts and mugs and COVID-19 masks and foam fingers and shit like that, right? So I think that's a pretty exciting prospect for musicians generally. So I think that's a way that we're going to be able to for artists to be able to take some of their power back. Again, and that's something that excites me.
Yeah, because Amazon will print. They'll do print CDs on demand. They do. They have a drop ship CD service.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's kind of neat. Someone can actually go through an album and just pick out certain songs that they want, and off they go. Which is super weird. Yeah.
You hear that, Dylan?
Yeah.
These boys wanted to call us earlier.
And I mean, yeah, like you said, like Vistaprint, Redbubble, like companies that you can make your own little store and have, Stanfields thongs go out drop ship, right? Like it's...
yeah, exactly. But what I think, it's not so much the financial argument for me. I think artists these days, they need to be thinking very multidimensionally. Very, very multidimensionally. When we're now, because we're learning as we go here, when we're making a song and we're focusing on the song, we're already talking about the video. So we need to expand that further. We need to be thinking about the merchandise that can go with that. So I think that's just another creative outlet. Bands are always like in the van smoking weed or whatever, and maybe not the driver. I'm always driving. I don't smoke weed, but
sounds like you've been to Paddle Fest one too many times.
Oh yeah. But bands always have these sort of like very like kind of out there creative ideas. Like I think one time Dylan and I were talking about making ice cream sandwiches for Blacktop Ball, like this kind of stuff. And often, when the rubber hits the road, you realize you can't do it. But now we're getting to an age where a point in time where we can kind of fulfill these creative ideas,
almost anything.
Yeah. And it's cool as hell. It's cool as hell.
Well, it's, talking about merchandising and things like that, even just the t-shirt and apparel game, when it comes to merchandising, I mean, if you're not, you can drop ship and you can still get your stuff local with like Mercenary Merch or whoever.
Yep.
You know, and even then, Nathan a lot of the times will ship stuff.
Yeah, Nathan's awesome.
Yeah.
Nathan is awesome. We've done a lot of work with Nathan over the years. He's done a lot of runs for us, and he's doing some great work with fundraising for I'm forgetting what it is right now. But,
support local.
Yes, yeah, that's it.
I have the shirt. I have one of the shirts.
Oh, that's one of the shirts.
Yeah.
Oh, very cool. Very cool.
The on the nose shirt. That's yeah, and that was amazing how he ended up with 40 businesses when he planned on raising money for 10.
Right.
And it was able to raise money for every single one of them, at least something for every single one of them. So,
wow.
Good man.
he's a cool guy.
Now,
I call him Nay Nay, and he hates it.
Nay, nay.
for you guys, the song that I always go to because I'm a huge hockey fan is the fight song, because it seems to play at every arena, and every time playoffs come in town, they need a montage. I hear that song. Was that? I've heard it on CBC. I think I'm 99% sure I've heard it on CBC.
Geez, Dylan, we got to check. We got a check to chase down.
But like, if either it's YouTube or CBC, or I'm always think hockey and the arenas that they're playing it. Was that something that you guys like anticipated in writing that song? What was the meaning or the message behind that song originally? Because it works so well for hockey.
Well, I'm not going to lie. I mean, you don't really set out. I shouldn't say this because it's now not true. I was just going to say you don't normally set out to write a song specifically for anything, but clearly that's a lie. But I think fight songs just kind of happened. We wrote it 6 or 7 years ago, and it just had that sort of arena vibe to it, and the lyrics are more so of defending your city against the hordes of barbarians that are trying to take it from you, and it's that kind of historical thing that we like to do. But we were under no illusion that this couldn't be for hockey. We were under no illusions that the Mooseheads would play it after a scrap or anything like that, and that happens a fair bit. I've had people tag us in posts and stuff when they're at a hockey game in Winnipeg, for example, and it's being played there, or that kind of stuff's really cool. And I don't know if it's I don't want to overstate its importance, but it feels pretty cool to have something that we created that interfaces with people's lives in some way. You know what I mean? It's kind of a go-to. That is a big pat in the back for an artist. That's for sure.
Absolutely.
My second question regarding song-wise is I was listening to an interview that you did, and you said you had a dislike for the song Dirtiest Drunk, and it's the most requested song. Why is there a dislike to that song?
I don't dislike it. The truth is I don't know how to unpack that, to be honest with you. Whenever we play it, which is, it's not rarely or anything, it's more of an encore song or whatever, and people get great joy out of it, and it's always fun to play. I think that when it was written, it was supposed to be a thinly veiled warning about excess.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So we're, our music, we take our music very seriously. We take our messages pretty seriously, and it was supposed to be about excess. And of course, once you put something out in the world, people interpret it the way that they want to. And that is actually correct because it's theirs now and it's not ours, So often, we would see over the years, we'd be playing a show and, somebody would get super loaded or whatever and kind of play act the part, right? And I always felt that was kind of completely missing the point. That was the thing. So that kind of made it, that kind of took a little bit of the luster off for me, because that was probably the first song that really took off for us,
Right.
you know, and I'm grateful for all that, the opportunities and whatnot that it brought. I still love playing the song. Actually, these days, well, we're not playing shows anymore, thanks COVID, but often I'll go out in the encore and play it as a slow piano ballad.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well,
That is
fabulous.
amazing.
We
I-
roll with the keyboard now, so you know, it's just kind of like, yeah, here you go. But people seem to laugh and get into it, and you know,
It's yeah, the way you're describing it is kind of like "Fight for Your Right" by the Beastie Boys. It was the same idea. They wrote this song about excess, and people turned it into a party anthem.
Right. Yeah. There you go.
yeah, same vibe. You know, it's the same vibe. So it's just, you know, I just don't like, you know, none of us really like to encourage reckless behavior. You know, most of that stuff, honestly, is like, you know, the Dirtiest Drunk video and things like this. You know, like that was always pretty tongue in cheek. You know, that was theater. You know, we don't live like that. You know, we may have lived like that.
There's been weekends like that.
There has been weekends like that, but you know, we don't live by that like that. And actually, you know, I've been thinking about this. You know, actually, the guy that played the Dirtiest Drunk in the video, John Walters, is actually from Moncton. He's the lead in the video, and he passed away a few years ago. But he did. I was thinking about him the other day, actually, not related to this, but it's kind of coming back to me now. And he did such an amazing job in the video, and he was one of our first fans ever.
Mm-hmm.
We played at Doc Dillon's in Moncton when that was still open, and he was the only guy there. He was literally the only guy there, and he had his shirt off by the end of it because he was just so into it, you know. And we became friends, and he traveled far and wide to see us play, and he became one of our family members, you know. And yeah, man, like you know, that's one of the things for me that helps remind me of the importance of every song that we do, because they're to us, because there are those kind of connections, right?
Memories.
Yeah.
Now, while you're on the topic of family, like how hard is it to manage that entertainment lifestyle where you say you make your money on the road and you're always gone and you're doing all these concerts, and then managing a family back home and like loved ones you have back home? How is that, and how hard is it to like leave knowing you're not going to see that loved one for maybe 2 months because
Yeah, I'll let Dylan.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough. Yeah, and I mean, like, you know, I'm like John mentioned, there's 10 years apart, and they've, you know, the guys before me and Cal were in the band had been at it for about almost 5-6 years, maybe 10 years with just playing. So they have a little more experience with it. But for me, I find, you know, you just kind of have to accept that you're going to miss weddings, you're going to miss birthdays, you're going to miss, you know, big events. But, you know, the stories that you get to bring back to your family and have with them, and that's, you know, that's pretty special. And they, you know, I'm lucky that my family fully support me and my partner, and, you know, it makes it feel even that much more rewarding when you know, you come home knowing, you know, you're following a dream, and, you know, you're trying to make that your career, and then you have the support at home as well. But, you know, that doesn't mean that doesn't take the weight out of missing a lot of, you know, big events. It is tough, but it's just one of those sacrifices that you kind of have to make, and you try to be around when you can.
Mm-hmm. We have a to a band member. We all have very strong family support, not just with our immediate partners and in some cases children, but also with our parents and with our aunts and uncles. And, you know, it's a real family vibe. You know, we all have that, and we're all very lucky to be able to lean on that when, you know, because let's be honest, this lifestyle is hand to mouth, right? And it's very stressful too. You know, it's 95% hard graft and juggling chainsaws and anything you can imagine. and a constant knot in your stomach about all of that. But then the 5% kind of takes over.
Yeah.
You know, the 5% of the performance and the response from people and the release and all that stuff really is the payoff, and getting to share that with our families, you know, after they're the ones that see us.
Yeah.
They have a front row seat to all this. Actually, my wife, her and I run the record label that we're on, you know, so it's definitely a family shop, and it's an all-consuming lifestyle. It's not a job. It's a lifestyle.
Yeah, exactly.
So speaking of it being a tough lifestyle, we're coming up to the end of our little chat, our interview, and one of the things we do on our show, one of the traditions we've started, is we get you to teach us something. So we get all of our guests to teach us something. So I've gone scouring through your Instagram and through your Twitter and found some old photos, and I am very curious because I think it was Mark, if I remember right. Because I did talk to you about this before. I have to know, how does one make a bed how does one make a bed and sleep on ironing boards? This is where I am right now. This is where I am in my life.
Man, honestly, Dylan and I could talk. We could talk about Murph.
Oh, we could make a podcast on just stories about Murph.
Like he's just
honest to God.
He is a unique animal, and he just honestly, like, every band has their clowns, and they have their serious types and their morale boosters, and Murph is all of those. Murph is the heart and soul of this band, and he never fails to put a smile on our face, because, you know, hanging out in airports it's hard, you know, traveling in a van is hard, town to town is hard, et cetera, rinse, repeat, go, you know, but he always maintains a positive attitude, and he's lifted me up plenty of times, I can tell you that. So when you make a bed out of ironing boards, it's really less about the process and more about the response. You see, I've seen that man climb up on top of closets in hotel rooms where a cat couldn't fit, and he would curl up in there. I've seen him order 7 Hawaiian pizzas. I've seen him, you know, he made the infamous ironing board bed as well. And that was actually, oh my God, that was on our first tour. And we played at the Coast Guard College in Sydney, Nova Scotia. And they let us sleep in the laundry room. That's where we posted up, man. And so Murph wasn't having it. He's like a radar for comfort. So he did his thing, man, and he plopped her down and got a good night's rest.
Were they extended, or were they just laying on the floor?
Oh, you know what? I don't even want to comment on where they came from.
No, but like when he slept on them, did he have a whole bunch of them raised up, or did he just like compact them down? And
I feel like they were raised, but I feel like that was a failed endeavor, and he ended up just sort of flaking out on them.
Woke up on the floor.
Yeah,
fair.
Yeah, that's my recollection. I mean, you got to understand that's 1,000 shows ago, and geez, 50 pounds and head of hair ago. So.
Well, I just want to say thank you so much for coming and joining us on the Lukewarm podcast.
Our pleasure. Our pleasure.
It's good, man. Good chatting.
Congratulations on the second episode.
Oh, thank you very much.
The big
the
news.
Lukewarm seat. None of the jokes are jokes. None of the questions are real hard. That's what we're here for.
Hey, all right.
I appreciate it.
Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you so much, guys.
Cheers.
Yeah, no problem, guys. Take care.
Have a good one.
And wow, what a great interview with the Stanfields. That was awesome.
I could talk to those two guys all day long.
Like literally, answering questions I didn't even know I had were questions. Like he'd bring something up, he would talk, answer my question, and then bring up something unrelated to my question. And I go, oh, that's an amazing question. I'm like writing down my little notebook here because my memory is of a goldfish. And he's answering that question too. I'm like, dude, you're taking my job away. I'll just give you like, here, take the podcast. You can
a little bit behind the curtain. We talked to them for about a half an hour on the show here, but after that, we actually talked to
35 more minutes
to John for another 35 minutes. Like it was amazing. My wife was like, "You done yet?"
My wife came out. She goes, "All right, it's been an hour. Have you done all your podcasts?" I'm like, "We just finished the interview, so we're gonna do the meat and
years, right?
We're gonna do the meat and potatoes now."
So the good part.
But how about that? We are the first. We are breaking it here. The Stanfields are doing a live album. It's going to be coming out. It's in post-production.
Yeah.
So and that is, you've heard it here first. This is the first place you're going to hear it is on the Lukewarm Seat podcast.
Boom.
What a ticket.
What a bombshell. The Stanfields live album. They told us also they're releasing another single as they go along. Man, just fabulous guys. I'm going to go sleep on an ironing board tonight.
I didn't know that was like possible. Like,
we'll see what it's like. I think Mark was like 150 pounds at the time.
Okay, so you're going to make some content for our Instagram page is what you're saying.
Yeah, I'm going to hurt myself. Yeah.
Sweet. How many ironing boards do you have in your house?
You don't worry about that.
I charge it to the company card. We don't have a company card. Oh. I charged it to my card.
You charged it to somebody's company card. So, that about does it for this week. I'm excited for next week, whether we have a guest or we don't. If we don't have a guest, I'm going to teach you some stuff.
I'm excited. I want to learn about the birds and bees. That's just me.
It comes with a lot of noises and maybe puppets.
I went to a Catholic high school, so we didn't have that in the curriculum. So that wraps up this week's episode of the Lukewarm Seat. Oh, wait.
Come on. Now, last week...
It's even my week.
You dropped the ball. Last week was your week. You dropped the ball. This week, for sure, you have to have one.
I do.
You didn't already tell it to me, right?
I did not already tell it to you. I found it as I was going through my Rolodex of good ones, and I was like, oh, no, this one, real good. But you know what? You know, Chris, I've been telling dad jokes, but I'm not quite a dad yet. Does that mean I'm a faux pas?
That was amazing. That is...
I'm technically a dad. I'm technically a dad, but I'm not really a dad yet. So that's what I had. I didn't want to spoil it just because I wanted that initial... little burst of laughter.
Man, I full on support that.
Have you heard that one before? Is that one you
I have not.
Heard?
No, that's the first time for me.
Perfect. Oh, I
even have one prepared just in case you didn't have one.
Oh no, I had one. Came prepared this week. I dropped the ball once. I almost forgot the segment, even though it was my job to put it in. But I had it. I was ready. I dropped it, and kaboom! It went, exploded. We got brown and sticky everywhere.
Brown and sticky. Oh, I forgot to say that's what I'll put it in post-production.
Post-production? Chris, you just let me do all work for yourself.
Sticky. I have.
So that has been this week on the Lukewarm Seat podcast. I'm Josh Ruckstall.
Oh, I'm the rockstar Chris Cole.
And this has been episode 2. See you at episode 3.
Peace out. I'm an adult.
This has been a TPC Network podcast. For more shows like this, go to tpcnetwork.com/podcasts.